Hey, good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to be here today to share with you Salesforce's ecosystem approach to closing more passive talent. So, as we all know, in the war for talent, scarcity is the new reality. And I love this billboard that was plastered on the 101 because I think it so accurately depicts the desperation many of us are feeling when it comes to attracting and closing talent today. Many of the people we want to hire are already employed, and we have to spend a lot of time and energy prying them loose. Who is feeling that pain right now? Raise them high, right? Lots of hands up in the room here. And even if we do get them into our process, right, there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to close them. Power is continuing to shift to the candidate. As this study shows, that shift has been rapidly accelerating over the last 4 years. The candidate is now firmly in the driver's seat. I like to say winter is coming. For some of us, winter is already here, right? Is your approach to recruiting ready? So at Salesforce, we definitely do not have it all figured out. Oops, sorry. Jumpy clicker, let me see if I can go back here, there we go. All right, so at Salesforce, we don't have it all figured out, right? Recruiting in this new era of scarcity is definitely tough. But we are working to change up our approach to give us a better chance at hitting our numbers. And the numbers for us have really grown explosively over the last few years. This year, when our recruiting team got the hiring plan for 2015, let's just say there was a lot of fear and panic. The number was bigger than ever before at 5,000. And combine that with the fact that we're hiring for the toughest talent segments in some of the toughest markets around the world. Now for us, the old equation of career site plus ATS plus recruiter equal hire has not been working for a long time. So we've been spending a lot of time thinking about how we're going to change up our approach. We've made a lot of changes to the way our recruiting team is organized and worked really hard to optimize it. We've added more research, more sourcing, more marketing and events, more employee referral program resources, and also more university recruiting resources. And we're changing up the ways that we approach our talent and build relationships with them. So we call this our ecosystem approach to recruiting. And the foundation for this approach is everyone enabled and engaged to sell our employer value proposition. And when I say that, I mean employees, hiring managers, recruiters, literally everyone that touches someone we have an interest in from the full life cycle, whether that's at a lead, a prospect, a candidate, an employee, and then ultimately as a referrer. So this approach has 5 steps to it. The first part is doing targeted lead generation. Second, we qualify and map all those leads. And then we nurture those pre-qualified prospects. Then it's about delivering an amazing candidate experience and an engaging employee experience that ultimately closes the circle when that employee becomes a referrer, right? So what I'd like to do today is walk you through each of these steps and give you some real tactics. And you'll have to pick out what might work in your circumstances, but I hope I'll drop a few ideas that you can pick up and take away and implement right away to help you start closing more passive talent. So let's go to this first one, targeted lead generation. This step is all about defining your audience and driving your leads in a highly targeted way. So for us, there's 3 core tactics in this bucket: referrals, advertising, and research. Now, for us, referrals are our #1 source of targeted leads. The people we want to hire are generally in our employees' networks. So we spend a lot of time and energy on our referral program. And it starts with having an awesome app that our employees use to submit and track their referrals. And of course, they want to know when they're getting their money. So we also track when their payouts are happening in that app. We have an awesome online employee referral community and community manager who's pointing people to resources, answering their questions, and helping them refer real time. And then the final piece of this is we do a lot with referral spiffs. We have a lot of fun with contests just to keep the program really top of mind. And we also do referral clinics. And this is where we sit with our employees and go through their networks with them and see who we might want to target to bring into Salesforce. Now, this whole equation only works if on the back side, our entire recruiting team is really dedicated to looking at each one of these leads. We want them to disposition or put someone in the process in a timely and high-touch way. These are our employees' contacts, and we want to do that in a way that really respects and protects that relationship. So why do we put so much time and energy into this? Because it's a highly effective and efficient method of hire for us. In fact, we recently did a little research in our EMEA market, and we found that it takes just 8 referral leads versus 154 non-referral leads to get a hire for us. So the next piece is around advertising. Now, you're not going to see a Salesforce recruiting billboard on the 101, but I can tell you the recruiting team asks for it all the time. It's very annoying because I have to explain to them over and over again that our target's very narrow. So if I'm going to spend 100 grand, I'm going to spend it in a highly targeted way on sites like Glassdoor, where I can put my message in front of my demographics, my locations, the companies and industries I want to target. So how do I figure that out, right? And that's where this third piece comes in, and that's research. Who has a research function on your recruiting team? Just a few hands. This is a real great greenfield area. If you're not already diving in there, I highly encourage you to start thinking about where you could use data. And I really love data because I think data helps you disrupt the way you're doing things. And I want to give you an example here. I want to unpack this one a little bit and kind of tell you how we're using data. Research, we like to look at competitive intelligence. So we look at where are we gaining and losing talent from. We watch for acquisitions, we watch for layoffs, we watch for companies moving in and out of the market. We're also looking at our total addressable market. Is the talent there in the locations and segments that we're looking for? So we make addressable market maps for our key categories. And we use data to understand what skills and experiences people need to be successful in the various roles at Salesforce. So let me give you an example of this. We have a huge appetite for sales talent, right? It's the lifeblood of our company. And we did this little research exercise last fall as we prepared to try to hit that huge number. And we found that when we looked at these, this is an example of a market map that we made for San Francisco. When we looked at our markets, the addressable talent based on our current success profile was not going to be there for us to hit our number. We really look for the high quality people, and you can see here in San Francisco, you see we've talked to 28% of the market. That's pretty tapped. We really only want the top 20%. So we knew we had to do something differently. So, unfortunately, our sales managers have a perception that only people who have software sales experience are going to be successful at Salesforce. And they weren't really willing to look at candidates who didn't meet that core criteria. For them, it's an insurance policy, right? It's like, I don't want to take a risk. So we decided to do a little research and see if we could disrupt that perception. And when we did the research, we looked at the top 100 salespeople in our commercial business unit. And what we found was actually very surprising. 34 of the top 100, a full third, had no software sales experience, right? So boom, bust, there goes that perception. But we wanted to give them a new insurance policy, something else, so then what is it that we look for? So we looked at the common traits of our top 100 salespeople, and we found there was some really significant commonalities there. They were Salesforce power users in their previous role. They were used to a monthly close cadence, and they had some kind of a solution or storytelling sales training. So with this new profile, we were able to give them that insurance policy, but also really significantly widen out our addressable market, and it gave us a much, much better chance at hitting our numbers. So I wanted to give you an example because this is just such a fun area to get into, and hope everyone dives in right away. So let's move on to step number 2. Once we drive all of these leads, we want to look through them, and we want to drive interest. Really, our goal is to drive interest only with people with a high probability of hire. So our recruiting team looks at all of the incoming leads. Now, if someone doesn't fit our profile, we want to disposition them in a respectful way. We don't want to dump them in a talent community or put them in our nurturing activities because we just don't have a high probability of hiring them. So we want to be respectful of their time and our team's time and close the relationship out. If they do meet our profiles, we want to map them to a nurturing campaign, make sure we keep them warm, right? And if we have an opportunity today, great, let's feed them right through to that opportunity and get going right away. So I used a word there called pre-qualified, I think, and pre-qualified prospect nurturing. This is the third step to our system. And again, we're looking to build relationships only with people that we would hire, at least on paper, right? You don't know to really meet someone, but we can handicap these leads and look at the people we think we're gonna hire on paper. And once we find that bucket, we wanna do things that keep them warm and build the relationship and start to move them from that prospect phase into the candidate bucket. So at Salesforce, we're using 3 key tactics for nurturing. The first one is Snackables. It's kind of a fun name. I love this program. And Chrissy Glover at Thornhill, out here in the audience, raise your hand, Chrissy. She's our Global Employer Brand Manager. And what Chrissy does is go through all of our media coverage, all of the content produced by our corporate marketing, and our employee content, and look for the most deliciously snackable tidbits. And then she packages those up for our employees, recruiters, hiring managers to share with their networks. And this is also great tidbits that can go into the personal correspondence that our recruiters are having with their pre-qualified prospects. Then we take the really cool content, the best of the quarter, and we e-blast that out to our various pre-qualified prospect lists for the different talent segments. We're looking for the things that are uniquely relevant to them, packaging them up and sending them out. And we do this actually for 2 reasons. One, we want to keep those prospects warm, but we also get some intel by sending these blasts out. We send them out through our marketing technology called Marketing Cloud. And when we do that, we can see who opened our blast, and we can see what they clicked on. That gives us 2 data points. We know that person might be interested in a conversation, and we know what to talk to them about. And then if they don't open it or they unsubscribe, that's also a data point, right? You got to get to the no. So we know that's maybe not a good prospect for us, and let's move on to some hotter targets. The third way we're nurturing our passive prospects is through events. Now, we actually don't do career fairs. You usually won't see us at anything that's kind of career fair related. We do our own events, and they take a variety of formats. The most popular format, and the one we really love, is just piggybacking on our customer events, like this event here today, right? We had a little event last week, Dreamforce, you may have heard of it. So when we invite our candidates to these events, or our prospects to these events, they get the opportunity to hear from our executives on what we're doing, go to awesome breakout sessions, explore our partner campground, right alongside with our customers. There's a lot of energy and excitement there. And while they're there, we often invite them to a Life at Salesforce session, or a networking happy hour or lunch, or even a breakfast, where they get to mingle with our managers and our employees and really hear what it's like to work at Salesforce firsthand from our people. These are an awesome 2-way street, right? The prospect gets a chance to learn more about you in a really non-threatening way, and we get to see how they interact with others and with us to understand, is this person gonna fit in our win as a team culture? So it's kind of like a huge informational interview, and it's a lot of fun for them, and it's great for us. So why do we do all this, right? What is the nurturing process about for us? The goal of all of these activities that we do is that when a pre-qualified prospect has that day, and I think we all know what that day is, right? It's that day when you I no longer want to work here, I want to go somewhere else. They know where they want to go, and they have our number. We have a relationship with them. They have a contact with us, and they reach out. And we get reach outs from these events sometimes 2 years later. Someone we invited to come to something, they'll reach out and they'll just say, okay, today's that day. I'm interested. And they call us. We also, sometimes someone will send us a newsletter that we sent them years ago and be like, okay, today's the day. So it's very, very cool. It really pays off, and you just have to be in it for that long haul with this prospect and keep educating them, keep getting them excited about who you are. Okay, moving on to step 4, amazing candidate experience. And I want to be full disclosure here. Today we are not offering an amazing candidate experience. If you looked at our interview reviews, this is a weak link in our chain, and it's definitely our area of focus over the next few months. So in this step, what we're really looking to do is to close more candidates. And we think the best way to do that is to make every hiring manager a hiring magnet. There are a lot more of them than there are of our recruiters, right? So we want to train this army up to help us close more of our candidates. And that's going to be a re-education process, right? We need them to understand a few things. One, that we have an amazing recruiting machine at Salesforce, and we have these success profiles, and we are putting candidates in front of them who can do that job. The second piece is that candidate is likely passive. We have gone after them, we've hunted and brought them in and brought them before you. So we need the hiring manager to do two things. We need them to assess for fit, right? We've already said this person can do the job. Now, do they fit your team? Do they fit our culture? And then secondly, we need them to sell Salesforce. They need to be actively telling this person why this is a great opportunity for them and moving them across the line. So again, you're probably sensing a pattern here. I want to go through 3 tactics that we're lining up to help us achieve this goal. The first one is what I like to call employer value proposition pitch certification. We train all of our managers to be able to talk about who we are, so kind of our history and our mission, what we do, our vision, our strategy, where we're going, how we work together, our culture, the rewards, the opportunity, what are we going to give you back for your time and talents, and of course, the unique role on their team and themselves as a manager. The second bucket, competencies interviewing, this one we're actually pretty far down the road on, and this has been really great because we are training our managers that these are the roles, are the types of skills and experiences that make someone successful in this particular role at Salesforce. And what happens is it results in a really deeper line of questioning. And I think the takeaway for the candidate is this is a company that cares about putting the right person in the right role for mutual benefit and success. Now, this last one is kind of my favorite, and I want to, again, dive a little deeper on this one with you guys because I think this is the game changer. Communicating differently to candidates, right? We want to put in place some tactics and tools that really recognize that the tables have turned, help us up our game, and we want to court that candidate all along their journey with us. So I want to explain a little bit about some of the things we're thinking about here. And the first one is this idea of a pre-interview team briefing. And what we're solving for here is that re-education process, right? I call it kind of the pre-game day huddle. We want to get these people together and really educate them on the new role of the hiring manager in a candidate-driven world. And again, that's a couple of different points. It's selling, right? The company, the role, the culture, the rewards, yourself as a manager. But it's also etiquette. Etiquette is key here, right? Because we're bringing these people to us. We're taking them away from work for the day. These people are employed, and many of them happily so, right? So we want to really up our etiquette game with our candidates. We want our hiring managers there on time. We want them to be prepared. And we want them to not grill. Most importantly, for God's sake, don't grill this person I just put in front of you, because when the hiring manager or the hiring team is sitting there like, why are you here? Why should I hire you? That passive candidate is like, hey man, you called me, right? It's a huge disconnect, and it just sours the whole process right out of the gate. The second piece of this I like to call quick tips and closers. So what I'm solving for here is that I'm not prepared factor, right? I think oftentimes we have the best intentions to read that resume before we walk into the interview, but the day gets busy, it happens. We end up sitting in front of someone with a resume that's still hot off the printer or just pulled up on our phone that we haven't even looked at. And I think that's really unfortunate because we have these recruiters that are spending hours with these people before they show up. Long conversations, but where does that information go, right? What if that recruiter packaged up in a really highly consumable way some quick tips and closers, the top 5 things to know about this particular candidate, some awesome accomplishments, fun facts, motivations, what would close this person? How would that change that interview experience for that passive high-value candidate? Okay, the next 3, what I'm solving for here is that really awkward and weird phenomena where you interview with somebody and then hear absolutely nothing from them from the moment you interview until you show up on day 1, right? It's like, oh, where did the manager go? They seem so excited to know me. So a couple of things here, tactics here. One I like to call the preemptive thank you, which is why aren't we sending that candidate a thank you for their time before they have to contact us and ask us for everyone's email? Send that person and say, hey, thanks for taking the day away from your job to come and talk with me today. And then they have everyone's emails. Wouldn't that be a little bit of a different experience? The second piece is just asking for the sale. If all of our recruiters were tipping off our hiring managers that, hey, I just put an offer in your candidate's hand, send them an email. Is there anything that I can do to answer for you that could help you make this decision? Be there during that decision process with that candidate and really ask for the sale. Show you really want that person. The next one is just that personal congrats and welcome aboard. So if we could tip all of our hiring managers off that, hey, this person just signed their offer, they're in the boat, and they would send them a personal note. I think this little bit of humanity goes a really long way to really validate someone's decision that they're joining a company and a team and a manager who cares about me as a person and is actually really excited to have me on board. Okay, so the last piece, what are we solving for here? Again, you have this radio silence phenomena. Someone signs their offer and then they hear nothing from you until like maybe 2 days before they're supposed to show up. They get a one random email that says be here at 9 a.m. That's a really discomforting thing, right? It's like you just gave up your life, your job, and you're going somewhere else, and you haven't heard anything from these people since you signed the offer, and you're wondering what's going on, what should I be doing? Did I really get that job? Did I imagine this all, right? So one of the coolest things that I've worked on in the last year with our team is our new hire success email journey. And this is an automated flow of communications. And when someone signs their offer, they get dumped into this journey, essentially. And they are delivered from the time they sign and throughout their entire first year, a series of messages full of information and resources that they need to ramp to productivity and really feel like a local fast. Now, these communications, are really conversational and fun. They're kind of written blog style. They're timed to hit just when that person might be asking that question or starting to think about something. So it's very delightful and surprising. They're like, oh, I was just thinking about my, benefits, or I was just thinking about how do I track my volunteer time. They're getting those messages. And right away, we started tracking the metrics on this thing, and we saw that they were getting 90% open rates. And we were super excited about that. But we kind of joked with ourselves and we said, oh yeah, that's for the first few weeks. Of course, they don't have anything better to do. Well, it has been consistently high open rates of 90% through the whole first year. And what's been even more delightful are the messages we get back from new hires who email back to the alias and say, I have no idea who's sending these, but I just want to say thank you. I feel like I have a friend on the journey. That has been so gratifying, and we know we're doing something really great for our new hires. Okay, so now we've got these people on board, right? So what's our next job? It's delivering this engaging employee experience. Referrals are actually our #1 source of hire. So we want to build a killer culture that turns every employee into an employer brand advocate and ultimately a referrer. Culture is the key here. Culture is our greatest asset. It's our core differentiator. If you think about an account executive job, it's essentially the same wherever you do it, the roles and responsibilities. What's different is the people you do it with and the environment you do it in. That is culture. That is the beating heart of your organization. So, at Salesforce, we spend a lot of time articulating it and making sure that all of our employees can talk eloquently and consistently about our culture. And that's a little graphic representation of how we talk about our Ohana and our Aloha way of life. So if we can do that, then we can hire for fit. And we really train people to understand fit is as important, culture fit is as important as skills and experience. It needs to be there. If it's not there, you should pass. And then again, we immerse these new people quickly because we want to make sure that they check their bad habits. Everyone comes from somewhere, right? And they have culture baggage. And we want them to check those bad habits at the door. We want them to know what works here, what doesn't work here. And then, of course, living it, inside and out every day. We're constantly thinking about ways to infuse our culture into everything we do with our employees. Okay, so 5 key steps there to this ecosystem approach. Targeted leads, qualify and map, nurture those leads, amazing candidate experience, engaging employee experience. What's the outcome? How are we measuring success? How do we know if all of these things we are doing are working? So a few key metrics here for us. One is enthusiastic shares. Are our employees sharing our employer brand content with their networks? And at Salesforce, about 1 in 3 employees is actually a social ambassador part of our program, and they share our content through our awesome Social Ambassador app. Fair reviews. Are our employees giving a fair and authentic view of who we are on Glassdoor? And right now, we're really excited to be trending at 4.0. With the kind of growth we're experiencing, 8,000 to 18,000 in 3 years, that's no small feat to be able to hold a culture together and a workplace together. And most importantly, are they referring their best contacts for jobs with us? And we're exceeding our 50% goal of employee referrals. And that's all fantastic, and we love all that, but of course, there's one last thing, right? And most importantly, everybody loves winning. So we're really excited to be actually on the path to hit that crazy number that scared the crap out of us at the beginning of the year. So that's our story. Thanks for letting me share it with you. And I think we're taking questions after all 4 prezos. So thanks so much.